these are considered some of the worst Pokemon ever. In Gen 1, they're definitely the 5 of the worst Pokemon, as, considering their movesets are completely awful, yeah, they're all trash. And we've proven with my solo runs that neither of these 5 Pokemon can complete the game. So that left me with one question. Can I beat Pokemon Blue using only a team of the worst Pokemon? Here are the rules. We can only use these worst Pokemon in battle, and there's a lot of other rules which I'll put down in the description for you. So, I'll be honest, this challenge in itself nearly made sure that I did not complete this entire month of videos. Just this video alone. Jubbles, today you're going to be our rival because for being one of my longest subscribers as well, and one of the most supportive, I feel like this video is definitely... it's a big thank you to you. So let's get on with the video. Now we are going to use our GameShark codes to make sure that we actually can get these Pokemon starting off. And pretty much the entire premise of this is, can we actually beat the whole Pokemon Blue using these 5 Pokemon? Now, like the previous video with the starter Pokemon, we had a level cap of 50. There is absolutely no way we're going to be able to do this by level 50, but we will try as much as we can to make this possible. We will start off with our Magikarp, who we will dub Fail 1. And we'll get straight on with the video. Now, we are not expecting to win this very first fight as well, because Magikarp only starts off with Splash. We go down extremely quickly, but it's not a mandatory fight to progress the game, so we can actually take a loss here and progress on with the run. Now, we are going to choose all of our Pokemon here before we even go into Viridian Forest, really, because I want to make sure that before we even get to Brock, we have our full team. And this is just going to be hard. The only moves that Magikarp can learn are Splash and Tackle. Caterpie can only learn Tackle and String Shot. Weedle, Poison Sting and String Shot. But what I am going to do to make this a little bit different, Kakuna and Metapod, I am going to evolve them from a Caterpie and a Weedle as well. That way they've actually got an attacking move and I don't have to rely on them just for struggle. That means that our Metapod will have Tackle and String Shot, and our Kakuna will also have Poison Sting and String Shot as well. And yeah, it's going to be a doozy, this one. And this is by far the longest video I've ever done on this channel, and probably will be the longest video I ever do on this channel. So, going into Viridian Forest, we will pick up our first Pokemon, which is going to be Fail 2, our Caterpie. I'm making sure I don't name any of these Pokemon after any of my subscribers in this video, because I feel like that would just be an insult to any of you who have taken the time to subscribe to me. But yeah, Caterpie will be Fail number 2, and then we'll pick up our other Pokemon. Next one we'll pick up, of course, we're going to pick up our second Caterpie, because this is going to be the one we evolve into Metapod, and it will be dubbed Fail 3. Now, I've actually managed to prove that it's possible to get all the way to Elite 4 just with... Oh no, I didn't. On my channel, I actually only got up to Giovanni with just Weedle. The reason why these 5 Pokemon are dubbed the impossible Pokemon in Gen 1 is because Magikarp, Caterpie, Metapod, and Kakuna can only make it up to Lavender Tower. The only Pokemon that can make it past Lavender Tower is Weedle, and that is purely down to the fact it can learn Poison Sting, which can hit Ghost types. And yeah, when I did my Weedle run right at the start of this channel, it was very early on this channel, we managed to get all the way to Giovanni before I had tried way too many times against him. The luck was not in my favour, and I actually gave up at Giovanni. But I've seen some other videos around the internet where some people have managed to get all the way up to Agatha. And in theory, it is technically possible to beat the game with a Weedle, but you are looking at trillions to 1 chance to actually make that possible. If you want to see the odds to that, I'm pretty sure J Rose has done that on one of his videos, so feel free to check that one out, because I don't have this, I don't have the calculations on here, and I'm not going to take that away from him. And yeah, so that really raised the question. After I've completed these 5 Pokemon, it was, could a team of these actually beat the game? And that's what we're going to figure out today. Once we've picked up our full team here, we have now picked up Fail 5. We are going to make sure that we actually go on to Brock at as low level as possible. Now, this is the other... Considering they don't have many moves to work with, we need to think of the strategies we need to work on. So, the biggest strategies we need to work on, of course, is can we actually do it with the movesets we already have? So like Tackle, Poison Sting, String Shot, can those moves actually beat Brock? And if not, we might have to resort to the struggle strats, which for Magikarp, considering the level cap for Brock is 14 and he doesn't get Tackle till 15, that might be the option. Either way, we've now picked up our full team. Let's get started with this run and see how we do against the very first Bug Catcher trainer. And Fail 5, our Kakuna, is not doing too well. It is managed to take out the first Pokemon, and early on in this run, Poison type moves are going to be very key to getting past a lot of trainers. Not going to be very key to getting past Brock because Rock resists Poison, meaning our normal moves will pretty much do a bit more. And yeah, considering Poison Sting's only got 15 base power, Tackle's got 35 to 40, we'd actually be much more advantageous to use Struggle, considering I think in this generation it's either 50 to 60 power just on Struggle alone. So we have a lot of options we actually can use, but it's when and as we use these options that makes it interesting. And considering Struggle is much more powerful than any of the other moves, I am going to opt to try and do this as much with just Poison Sting, Tackle, String Shot, as much as we can. There's a lot of fights coming up. There's going to be a lot of long fights coming up in this video, but I hope you will stay with me for the entirety of this video to see how we do. See how far we can actually push this team and at what level we can actually finish the game on, if we actually can finish the game on. As you can see here, going against other Weedles and Kakunas this early on in the game is a bit of a struggle. If we switched into our Caterpie or our Metapod, Poison type moves are super effective against us, so we really have to rely heavily on Weedle and Kakuna. There's not really much point relying on Magikarp early game until he gets Tackle, and you'll also see a very weird thing with the stat spread as well. The likes of Kakuna and Metapod will have lower attack but higher defense just because of the way their stats are balanced. Weedle and Caterpie will have higher attack than anything else, and Magikarp's kind of middle of the road really. Going against the rival to the west of Viridian just because I wanted a bit more experience, and you get a lot more experience going against the trainers than you do wild Pokemon, and the most optimal Pokemon to go against is going to be level 6 Metapods in Viridian Forest. They give you about 61 to 63 experience, which is the highest you can get from any wild Pokemon at this point in the game. We really struggle against the rivals team here. The majority of that comes down to the fact that this Pidgey has bloody Sand Attack, which I've said in many videos is so overpowered in Gen 1. Accuracy debuffs are just ridiculous in Gen 1. I mean, that's proven by the fact that Pidgeot is a much better Pokemon on a solo run than a Fearow is, whereas if in a competitive 1v1, I would say Fearow is far superior. Now, we actually get a clutch win against the rival here, when we're not even at level 10 here. But thanks to the poisons, thanks to Poison Sting, thanks to Weedle of all things, we actually managed to get a win against him. Now, I did actually overlevel our first Pokemon just before going against Brock here. Just because I wanted to see how much damage we could really do, and we're not doing much whatsoever, really. Poison Sting now, because of all the defense skills he set up, will not even hit. It's a bit of a glitch in Gen 1. If their defense is so high and you've got a resisted move, it will just say that it missed instead of saying it does no damage. We went into this fight with Magikarp using Struggle because what's the point of going into it using Splash? And on this attempt at level 14, just at the level cap, we're really struggling against just the Geodude. It takes 4 of our Pokemon just to get him down to very low HP, and even then, the Onix just comes in and wipes out our Pokemon straight away. We do manage to get quite a lot taken off the Onix, and even at the level cap, this team is not doing as bad as I thought it would do. I would have thought we'd have to be a lot higher level to get to this far in the fight, but you know what? To get about a third through Onix's HP, not the worst thing whatsoever. The next attempt, though, I did decide to level up and go well over the level cap here, just because none of our Pokemon were doing enough damage at lower levels. 18 is a damage random threshold, so it means our attacks are doing just a little bit more. And we managed to get through the Geodude with just 2 Pokemon. The Magikarp really comes into its own when it has Tackle. We pretty much as soon as it gets Tackle, Splash, and Struggle, there's no point using it. But as we went into the Onix at level 18 there, you could see that Poison Sting was just not doing anything whatsoever, meaning Both Weedle and Kakuna would be completely useless against it. So what we have to do is try and get through this Geodude without losing a single Pokemon. And that is a lot harder than you might think, because we don't have any moves which can decrease their defenses. We can decrease the speed, no problem whatsoever, but at level 20 we are outspeeding the Geodude, so we don't have to worry too much about that. We are going to keep a few string shots handy just for when the Onix comes out, because, well, we need to get around Bide, but at the same time, it also means we can get around him being faster than us, so we can get more hits in before Bide even gets set up. And you can see here, Metapod is honestly pulling its weight at level 20. It's... I can't remember what level I actually managed to beat Brock with just a Metapod before, but it was definitely a lot higher than this. Metapod's attack is pretty garbage. It's a good thing that it's got good defenses. And now once the Onix comes out, we've only used one Pokemon. We can switch into our other Pokemon to see if we can actually poison this. Because if we can get enough poisons off on this Onix, then it will actually help us. And it looks like only critical hits will actually hit the Onix, even at this level. That's how bad Poison Sting is. And we probably would have been better going into this using just Struggle on all of our Pokemon. We would have been taken out a lot quicker, but either way, he is not increasing his defense whatsoever. If we can get critical hit Poison Stings, they actually will hit. We can get rid of all of his full heals. If we can get him poisoned, the battle becomes ours, and it's only a matter of time before he loses. So next we are going to throw in our Metapod just to get a couple more chip damage off on the Onix before it goes down. And we actually managed to get rid of all of our Tackle PP, meaning it's only a little matter of time before Fail Free goes down. This is where we bring in the Magikarp, and of course, we are going to tackle once while he's set up a Bide. We're not going to take too much damage, but that is all Magikarp is here for. It is here to tackle whatever is in front of it. We can tackle it down, we can keep knocking it in, but annoyingly he does keep using Bide. And this is a very, very long drawn out fight, which will become a common theme throughout the entirety of this video. So if you do want to just see how we get on to beating every single one of them, feel free to skip ahead. I am not bothered by that whatsoever. We finally bring in the Weedle, who is trying to get the poisons off with Poison Sting. We are not bothered if Fail 4 goes down. We want to get the poisons off and make this a lot easier on ourselves. Fail 4 does go down without getting all the poisons off before that, but we've got a full HP Caterpie coming in, who is now just going to chip away at this Onix, headbutting it, tackling it to the ground, and we will eventually get the win unless he sets up Bide. Now, Tackle is doing a hell of a lot of HP, but we finally got our last tackle in and get the first badge. Just the first badge. And that was... you can see how happy I am, because this took me so long to do. I decided to just run like a maniac around Pewter City. I was so happy that I managed to beat Brock there, because each one of these 5 impossible Pokemon took me ages to do on this channel. Absolutely ages. So, moving on to the next route before Mount Moon, there are a lot of trainers here we can get some easy experience on, and it's going to be a lot easier to go against trainers than train up against wild Pokemon. You get more experience that way, so it makes more sense. Moving through to Mount Moon, we have our next challenge, which of course is going to be the Rocket. And you know what, Magikarp is doing pretty alright. He managed to take out the Rattata, does quite a bit of damage on the Zubat before it does inevitably start losing loads and loads of HP. If we get hit by a Supersonic here, we are done for. We have been hit by ourselves and go down. Magikarp, you nearly did it, buddy. That brings us into Weedle, who, honestly, out of these 5 Pokemon, I would say Weedle is easily the best Pokemon. Which is such a weird thing to admit on a video, that a Weedle is the best Pokemon on your team. Next, going into the Super Nerd, who has a few Poison-type Pokemon, we're going to switch into our Bug Pokemon here. That way we can use String Shot, we can use Tackle, and we can just whittle away down at them as quick as we can. Annoyingly, Tackle does get disabled by the Grimer. That is, you hate to see it. And from here, we move into our Kakuna, and then back into Caterpie to get the win. The Voltorb's out next, and none of our Pokemon has a resisted move against it, so this is quite an easy fight. If it did have Sonic Boom at this point in the game, it would be an incredibly hard fight. Last up is the Coffin, who our Caterpie decides to just die against. This happens a lot. This will happen a lot. Imagine if I was doing this as a hardcore Nuzlocke, this would just not be possible whatsoever. Either way, we complete Mount Moon and we move on to Cerulean City. Now, there is a few hard trainers in Cerulean City. The first off is actually going to be the junior trainer right before Misty. And the reason why this fight is hard, her Goldeen knows Peck, the flying type move. And we have 4 bugs. So yeah, Magikarp getting down pretty quickly. Thankfully, Metapod is holding its own until it starts getting hit by Peck. And it only takes 2 Pecks to take it down, which is not good. Kakuna gets confused straight away, but it does get the win. It takes 3 Pokemon to take down one of theirs around about the same level. But yeah, let's see how we do against Misty. We do have the numbers advantage. We've got 5 Pokemon to her 2 Pokemon. We are trying to do this at the level cap as well. Most of our Pokemon are level 20 or 21 and her Starmie is level 21 itself. We managed to get a Poison on the Staryu and then we switch into Magikarp. Now we're doing this because with Magikarp being a Water-type Pokemon, they will not use Water-type moves against us. The annoying thing is though, they will use Water-type moves and they do a lot of damage against our bugs. We need to get the Starmie poisoned, and if we can't, it's pretty much an L here. And you can just see here, one Bubble Beam just sweeps through every single Pokemon we have. Water Gun does over half damage, and our lowly Magikarp just can't hack it. So, annoyingly, I don't think this is possible at the level cap unless we get extreme luck. So let's go see how we do against the rival. The rival here is annoying because his Pidgeotto does have Sand Attack here, but it doesn't have any flying type moves, meaning all of our bug types are safe to come in, because Gust is not a flying type move in Gen 1, which is very weird in itself. I mean, it's Gust, it's Wind. Like, how was that deemed to be a normal move over a flying type move? It's really weird, isn't it? Anyway, Pidgeotto takes down fail number 2, and we bring in fail number 3 to see if we can get the win, because we want to take out this Pidgeotto. It's the biggest threat on the team at the start. Abra is a completely free battle. If we were badge boosting, this would be the best Pokemon to do this against. But you might have seen on the rules right at the start, we cannot badge boost in this run, purely because we have no moves where we actually can. We literally can't. These 5 Pokemon do not learn a move where you can badge boost glitch at all. The Rattata really does a lot of damage to us, and we're down to the Charmander. We couldn't get the poison before it went down, but our Weedle, the big boy, comes back in, and we get the poison on the Charmander. Now, if we get hit by an Ember, we are done for, but thankfully, the Charmander just goes for Leers, and we get a first time win against the rival. I was not expecting that, considering we're pretty much at the level cap at this point, but considering we can't beat Misty, we need to progress along Nugget Bridge. Now, Nugget Bridge has its own challenges in itself. One of them being the Rocket right at the end who gives you the Nugget, because his Ekans is a poison type, meaning at least 2/5 of our team cannot do very good damage against him. He's got a Zubat as well, which is poison flying, and if he had a flying type move as well, we would be absolutely screwed right now. But this is why Caterpie and Metapod are very good players on this team. Honestly, I would say worst players on this team, the Kakuna is easily the worst player on this team. Even though it does have Poison Sting, its attack stat is garbage, meaning it can't do very much out, and even a Rattata maybe 8 levels below it can still have a chance of taking it out. When the Ekans comes back out, we can then switch into our Weedle. And yeah, that was a misclick. I really should have went into Metapod at this point, because Ekans only has Poison Sting and our defense is quite good on the Metapod. So, once we've got enough tackles in, we will win this fight and progress through Nugget Bridge. We're not going to let any of them evolve any further, because this is the worst Pokemon run, and these are the 5 worst Pokemon in this generation. Another big challenge on Nugget Bridge, of course, is going to be the Slowpoke kid. And that is purely down to the fact that his Slowpoke knows confusion. And you can see me pausing there going, no, this is not good. Even when we're just going up against normal bug mono Pokemon, we can't stand up to the might of this Slowpoke. Psychic is going to be a very annoying type to deal with on this run, and we're really putting a lot of hope into our Magikarp when it comes to these types of Pokemon. But, with 1 HP, we managed to finally hang on. After Nugget Bridge is complete, of course, we're going in at around about level 22, 23 here. The Staryu is not a problem whatsoever. As soon as we have it poisoned, we can switch into other Pokemon and then slowly take it down as the poison takes away its health. Now, the most expendable Pokemon on this team, and as well as being probably some of the best, Caterpie and Metapod are probably the most expendable Pokemon on this team. Reason for that, they're not, they can't inflict a status ailment such as poison. They can only tackle and they can only have lower speed. Magikarp has got a resistance to water, meaning it's a good Pokemon to try and chip away at the water types we will face. But as soon as other Pokemon come out, yeah, we really need something else to work with here. Bubble Beam is just too powerful of a move. So we go back to the final trainer on Nugget Bridge, who also gave us an annoying time, and that is the Oddish Lass right at the end. Reason why she's annoying? Oddish can recover its health with Absorb, meaning if we put Magikarp into this fight, we're pretty much giving it back all of its HP just for switching into the wrong Pokemon. So Caterpie and Metapod are going to have to deal with a lot in this run. And we went into this not with a full team as well. Fail 5 can thankfully take down the Pidgey, but next comes the Oddish, and it's going to be a battle of who can deal out more damage first, and thankfully Grass is resisted by Kakuna. This means we can take the win, but this is already at this stage in the game. I mean, I knew this was going to be a hard challenge, but come on, this is ridiculous. We separate Bill from whatever Pokemon he was there. I'm pretty sure Sailor Emma said that it was a Nidorino in one of the later games. And we move back over to Misty, because that is all we can do. We cannot beat Misty and move on to the next one. We can go against the Rocket, though, who has stolen the Dig TM. And this guy is tough, especially at this level. His Machamp can do critical hits with Karate Chop, and we just can't... We will lose 2 Pokemon before even taking it down. Metapod, again, we are relying on so heavily for its bulk compared to the other... I'm saying relying on its bulk, it's not a bulky Pokemon, but compared to the rest of this team, it is a bulky Pokemon. We managed to deal decent damage onto the Drowsy before moving into Caterpie, and we're really relying on Caterpie here to get the win, but Confusion does tons of damage. We're really hoping we don't get put to sleep, but annoyingly, it goes down, leaving just Kakuna, who can get the final Poison Sting in. And we can get the Dig TM, which we can't even use because none of these Pokemon can learn any TMs. I did say this was going to be a hard run. Now, we need more levels if we're going to go against Misty, and there is only one other place that we can go to where we can get more levels. Well, 3 places. We've got this area just to the north of Vermilion City, and then we've got the area to the east of Viridian City, and then we have the SSN. There's plenty of trainers on there that we can get levels against, but... Every single trainer we go against is a chore. Absolute chore. We really struggle. It doesn't matter what level we are at, we struggle against every single trainer that you can imagine in this game. Even against bug catchers, we struggle. But we need to fight everybody if we need the experience and the levels to even make this possible. This is probably the first run that I've done since, God... The very first games came out where I've legitimately went against every single trainer that you can imagine in this game. And even then, it's still not enough to get every Pokemon up to level 100. After taking on so many trainers, we finally backtracked to Misty. At level 24-25, we're going into this. As per normal, the Staryu is an easy fight, and genuinely I was hoping that Misty would not be anywhere near as difficult as she has been. If we can get a poison on both her Pokemon before anyone goes down, we can actually get a win. But no, I was actually trying to get String Shot so that we can actually outspeed the Starmie. We managed to get 1 off on our Caterpie, meaning it's still not enough. It needs at least 2 String Shots to make this Starmie slower than everyone else. Bubble Beam takes it out, and we're finally onto our last Pokemon, level 25 here. Can a level 25 Magikarp beat this Poison Starmie? Well, you know what? Because they will not use any other move apart from Tackle when going up against a Water type, Magikarp gets the win. And that took so long. I really wish that Magikarp could learn at least Water Gun, and maybe this run would have been so much easier. That brings us to the SSN though, and that means another rival fight. We've gone against every single trainer you can imagine, and we get two-shotted by his Pidgeotto. So we're going to try and see how we do against him here. 2 Pokemon go down without Pidgeotto even getting taken out. He uses a cheeky potion, which is annoying because that is one of the other rules in my rule set. We cannot use any potions or healing items within battle. We could use healing moves though if we could actually learn them, but no, none of these 5 Pokemon are intelligent enough to learn Rest. They can't. They just can't learn the move. And it's so annoying because that would help us out immeasurably in this attempt. We get all the way through to the Kadabra and we switch into our Kakuna, who of course takes itself out with confusion, leaving just our little Caterpie, who is on 7 HP, going into... It's tackled disabled. I don't think I've done another run as well where disable has been so debilitating to us. When you only have 2 moves to work with on every single Pokemon, disable is such a boon. Like, it pretty much can be the difference between whether you win or lose the entire fight if you get disabled in this attempt. It's crazy. I would rather have struggle at this point, but I am still pursuing with as far as I can into this run without using struggle. As soon as we hit the struggle strats, you can pretty much guarantee that's when I'm really struggling. That's when the run is starting to become impossible. Or I'm just getting bored and I want to get through the fights a little bit quicker. We finally get through to the Charmeleon. This is our first attempt and we are level 30 here. And the Charmeleon is spamming the Embers. We managed to get it poisoned and it is all on Metapod here. It does take 2 big Embers before we actually get the win thanks to Poison Chip. Level 30 to beat the rival here. Crazy high level for this point in the game. But that brings us to our 3rd gym leader. Now I am really hoping at least once in this entire run we can get a first time win. If we can get a first time win against Surge, I will absolutely love this team. First up is the Voltorb, and of course Weedle gets ourselves a win. Poison Sting is doing decent damage against the Pikachu because Pikachu has pretty terrible defenses, and Weedle takes a 2nd win. It managed to do a little bit of chip before the Raichu comes in, and then we move into... Wow, Magikarp actually managed to tank a Thundershock. I'm so surprised by that. I'm actually quite proud of it. We've got 3 Pokemon left to work with, and we might be able to do this now. Annoyingly, we do get growled, which means our tackles did not do anywhere near as much. But, wow, Metapod. Oh, we just need one more hit. And he goes for... Wow, we got a first time win. That is... Well done. Give these guys a clap. But of course, remember, this is Surge. He is pretty useless. That brings us to the Rappinlass, just on the east of Cerulean Sea before Rock Tunnel. And this is an incredibly difficult fight. I would say this is much harder, much harder than the Surge fight that we have just done there. She has 4 Grass-type Pokemon, all Grass Poison Pokemon as well. Meaning, Poison Sting does shit all damage. Let's bring in our Magikarp, who is actually doing decent damage with Tackle now. We are trying to get to Celadon, because as soon as we get to Celadon, we can invest in some vitamins, which is going to be crucial to this run. Now, you might already be thinking, I saw your rule set right at the beginning. You said no overlevel in the previous gym. Well, we failed that straight away with Brock. The next thing that we need to try and measure is actually, can we even complete this game with these 5 Pokemon? That's what we are trying to measure right now. This Rappinlass is such an annoying trainer. Depends on what sort of team you have, what sort of Pokemon you are doing a run with, but either way, if her Bellsprouts outspeed you and start rapping you, you've got very little chance of beating her, because you'll just get locked into it, and everyone knows what Gen 1 rap strats are like. And I decided to do an optional battle here against this Bugcatcher just because our Weedle and our Kakuna can see its evolution and realise they will never achieve that Beedrill status. Now, I'm actually a big Beedrill fan. In Gen 1, I think Beedrill is actually alright when used in the right team. It's decent in a solo run, apart from the fact that it ranked in like the E tier for me. But In a team, it is a fantastic Pokemon. You get Sword Stance, Hyper Beam on that thing, that is just tearing through teams. That brings us to Rock Tunnel, and that brings another problem. You might have thought I'd be talking about the Exploding Hiker. No, he is going to be a problem, but we have another big problem, and that is the Pokemaniacs. Now, the Pokemaniacs have started to become an issue on a lot of my recent runs. Because they have a Cubone who has Bone Club, Ground type move which is super effective, and they also have Slowpokes with Confusion, our team is not set up to take these guys on really. Like, Magikarp managed to get a clutch win against that Pokemon there, that Cubone, and when we get into the Slowpoke at level 23 this time, it does have Headbutt which is a lot better than when it uses Confusion. Now, we need to make sure that we can at least do some decent damage out. So we need to switch between Caterpie and Metapod to be able to make this possible. We are confused annoyingly, and Metapod does go down. That brings us into Kakuna, which will manage to take at least 1 or 2 confusions before getting taken down itself. That means we can bring back in our Magikarp for the win, but these Pokemaniacs are hard, and there's more than one of them. This one here is a level 25 Slowpoke of all things, and 2 confusions is nearly enough to take us down. We really relied heavily on Magikarp throughout Rock Tunnel, just for the fact they had that, just the fact it's a water type, it means it can resist quite a few things. But this Slowpoke at level 25 became a demon to fight against. Our Caterpie couldn't even do half damage onto it, and it brings us all the way to our 5th Pokemon to take out this one. So you might be wondering, what about the Exploding Hiker? Well, ideally, you know what we're actually hoping for? We're actually hoping for him to use Self-Destruct. Because we have a team of 5, and he'll take out each one of his Pokemon with that self-destruction. We actually want him to be using this to win this fight, because normally we will not be able to do this. We managed to get 3 self-destructs, 3 Pokemon down, but we have still 2 Pokemon in the back to work with, and we managed to get through Rock Tunnel with that support. That brings us to Lavender Tower, and of course, we're getting very, very close to the mid-game where all Pokemon but Weedle could actually get through. But of course that means we now have another rival fight. And this is still a difficult fight. We're only around about level 31, 32 here. Our Magikarp gets the first win against the Pidgeotto, and then he reveals his Execute. Now the Execute is actually his easiest Pokemon in this fight, purely for the fact that it is a Grass Psychic type, meaning it's very weak to poison type moves. We get a couple of poison stings in or get it poisoned. You can just see there, even though we've hung on with 4 HP, we do manage to get it down to very low HP. Bringing back in our Magikarp for the win, and then it's Magikarp v Gyarados, and now we have the bigger problem, which of course is Gyarados' Dragon Rage. Our HP is pretty abysmal, even for level 31, and this Gyarados has Dragon Rage and Hydro Pump. We've got nothing. We've got nothing to work with. We take a loss. So I go up to level 35 before trying this again. And we are so reliant on Magikarp to try and win this for us. Because Magikarp is the only Pokemon that can resist Hydro Pump. And it will only ever use Leer, Bite or Dragon Rage on it. The Execute, of course, very easy to get through. It's just annoying when it uses Barrage. But we do manage to get the win. Gyarados is up next, and the only way I could see to make this possible, we need to get a Pokemon out to get it poisoned and chip it down, bringing back in our Magikarp, and from there hope that there were no Dragon Rages. When we get through to the Kadabra, we make sure we use our physical attackers such as Caterpie, Metapod and Magikarp, and then comes out the Charmeleon who becomes a chore. He does lock himself into Rage though, and as long as we can get enough hits in, we can get the win. Now I sped that fight up incredibly quick so we can get through this. We pick up our fresh water and we open up Saffron City. Reason we're doing this, because there are more trains that we can now go against. But let's see how we do against a gym that ideally we have the type advantage against, majoritively. And then I realised his Victory Bell has Poison Powder. And for the first time in this run, we're on the back foot when it comes to status effects. The more annoying thing as well, the Victory Bell also knows Wrap. We are really, really struggling against this team here. Now, a lot of our Pokemon here, we had to resort to the struggle strats when we did the solo run. But I'm still determined not to do that. But considering... Oh god, she used a super potion. That attempt's a nil attempt. Right. We have decided to over-level to level 42. And from here, we still don't do very well. This victory bell is the devil incarnate. We struggle so much. It takes 3 of our Pokemon to even get close down to low HP. And at that point, she always uses a super potion, meaning this is just not going our way. If we can get past this victory bell, I believe we have a chance. We managed to get past it with our very last Kakuna, and Tangela is an easy fight because it is weak to poison type moves. That just leaves the Vileplume, but it's too little too late. We need more levels, so we got level 45 of all things. We are always going to get poisoned, we are always going to get wrapped by this victory bell, but on this attempt, our Cappy gets so much more damage done. We managed to get into our Metapod, and even that just... I hate wrap strats when they're against you. Really hate them. So I actually opt to use String Shot a couple of times. That way we can actually outspeed the wrap when it does hit, and we can get a few chips in between those wraps when they're happening. On our third Pokemon, we managed to get through both the Tangela and the Victory Bell this time. We are massively over-leveled, but the Tangela does go down at the same time as our Weedle. That just leaves Magikarp, who will go down to a Petal Dance, but because it's locked into Petal Dance now and confusing itself, Weedle is the optimum Pokemon to come in at this late stage and get the win against Vileplume. Level 45 here, and it's still a really big struggle, but I am doing this so far without even using struggle, so give me a break. Yeah, this is a hard challenge. That brings us to the Rocket Corner, and of course that brings yet more issues for this team. And that is in the form of Giovanni's Rock-type Pokemon. So we had a lot of problems with Onyx right at the start of this run against Brock. And you can see straight away here, even though we are 20 levels above his entire team, we barely do any damage to this Onyx. We do manage to lock it into Rage, but that is a bad thing considering we need to hit it consecutively over a lot of turns. So this attempt... oh, we might not even see past this Onyx here. We managed to get to the Rhyhorn on... That brings us into Fail 2, who can just do nothing with Tackle against the Rhyhorn's bulk. This is going to be difficult. So what level did we have to beat Giovanni? Well, I gave it one more try at level 45. On the previous attempt, we didn't manage to get the Onyx poisoned. And as soon as we got it poisoned, it became possible. Now, Cappy has definitely got the best attack out of any Pokemon on our team, which is so weird to say. It is so weird to say. Tackle does decent damage from Magikarp. I mean, decent damage. It was 20 levels above, and it's probably doing about 5 damage. Thankfully, we did get it poisoned, meaning this Onyx is a lot easier this time round, and it didn't use too many Rock Throws. Once the Rhyhorn comes out, we switch back into our Weedle. We get it poisoned on the first turn, which makes all the difference here. And from there, we just need to keep using Poison Sting till it falls. That brings us into Metapod, and from here we just need to keep chipping away at it, because Horn Attack will not do much against the defensive Metapod. I mean, this is one of the better things about Metapod and Kakuna in this run. They do have decent defenses to work with, and by decent I mean the best on just this team. Other than that, they're pretty garbage. Kangaskhan is out last, and we have 3 Pokemon to work with, and annoyingly, he puts himself straight into Rage. But if we don't hit him while he's using Rage, he will not increase his attack, so we decide to spam String Shot. Meaning his attack does not go higher, more poison can get hit in, and that brings us into our final 2 Pokemon now. I decide, considering he's over at half health, we will start attacking now. 1 Rage did 23 damage, and he's on barely any HP. Can Magikarp do this? 1 critical hit tackle gets us the win. Level 45, so it's still very high level, but before level 50 I'm quite happy with, if I'm being honest. So we've beaten 4 gyms. Now we have the big challenge, and of course that is going to be Lavender Tower. There's only 2 Pokemon we can rely on here, and that is both Weedle and Kakuna. If both of these fall, we have no chance of getting past any of these trainers. And that pretty much is how the first attempt went. And I'm showing you here exactly why none of the other Pokemon can actually do this. String Shot, Tackle just can't hit Ghost Pokemon. And Tackle, Splash can't do it either. We have to rely on Weedle and Kakuna here. That's one thing I've enjoyed about this run so far, if I'm being honest. Like, this has not been a fun run. It's not been fun to record and edit all the footage, because there is so many hours of footage that was recorded for this run. What I enjoyed about it though was that these 5 Pokemon all shone at different points in the run. Like Kakuna and Weedle, they're the only Pokemon that can make it past Lavender Tower, making it possible for this team. Caterpie and Metapod, both probably Caterpie is easily the strongest attacker we've got. Metapod, very defensively bulky, which is needed at sometimes. And Magikarp, who's resisted against water types, which are very plentiful in Kanto. And because of that, we do beat Lavender Tower, bringing us on to Silphcore, and that means another rival fight. I want to cry. Just look at how powerful this Pidgeot is. It's so powerful. And it is not going to be possible to do this at level 48, considering right in the back of his team is going to be a Charizard. So, at least we can do alright against the Execute. All it's going to do is spam Reflect. That's a little nugget of happiness in this fight. Oh, my poor team. So, what can we do? Well, we leveled up, of course. We leveled up 13 levels. And even then, it's a bloody struggle. Oh my word. Level 58 going into this fight, and that Pidgeot is still an absolute demon of the sky. Magikarp is our best bet to take it down, and even then, it is not easy. We're going to the Metapod, who we've lost 2.5 of our Pokemon here. Metapod is less than half HP. Kakuna is perfect for taking on the Execute, and even then, Kakuna has probably got one of the worst attacks on this team. It's not doing very much whatsoever. Kakuna is there to take a few hits, try and get a poison off. That's all it is there to do right now. We rely more on Weedle for trying to get some kills. The Gyarados as well is a big problem because it has Dragon Rage and we don't have the greatest HP stats. Hydro Pump will do massive damage, and yeah, even at level 58, this was not possible. So we're going to leave Silphcore for now, and we will go down to try and get some levels elsewhere. So we're going to try against the Poison-type Gym Leader Koga. Now this one in itself should also be very difficult, because 2 of our Pokemon can only know Poison Sting, meaning we're only doing 1 damage per hit on his Coughing and his Wheezing and his Muck. So yeah, I didn't think this one through before going on it. So we might be relying on the struggle strats sooner rather than later, but I'm quite impressed I've managed to get to this point in the game without relying on struggle once. So let's go back to this fight anyway. We managed to do decent damage on this Coughing by switching between both Weedle and Kakuna, but we're really switching a lot between these. Reason why we're switching as well is because that Coughing keeps using Smokescreen on us, and we need to conserve some PP to actually deal some damage out. Now, the more times we get hit by Smokescreen, the better, because we can just switch it back out and he's wasted a turn. But we managed to get through the very first Coughing. Oh, come on, can you hit it? No, we're going to switch back. And we managed to get through his first Pokemon pretty long-winded. That brings us to the Muck, and we actually can't even hit the Muck with Poison Sting unless it's a crit. So, yeah, Kakuna and Weedle will go down pretty quickly. That brings us to our Magikarp, who is dealing out probably the most damage that I've seen in quite a while. But Sludges are doing a lot of damage. He poisons us, he uses X attack, he minimizes. This Muck is a nightmare. Once he keeps using these X attacks as well, which he's got 3 of, like, for each of his Pokemon. Like, this is just not fair. He can use items in battle, I can't. The main reason why we want to use our poison Pokemon here is because they actually can't be poisoned themselves. But one sludge after so many X attacks gets him the win. So at level 58, we can't even get past his second Pokemon. So let's try this. Let's try this at level 66 with the struggle strat, because I am sick of taking losses here. Kakuna goes in and goes mental on the first coffin. We take a lot of HP off the muck using just struggle, and finally a sludge takes us down. We go into the Weedle using struggle, and you can see the difference in attack. We get into the coffin and we're doing about a fifth with struggle each time. We manage to start missing, and then we get a critical hit, meaning we are finally onto the Weezing, and we are hoping for the self-destruct. There we go. Takes 2 Pokemon level 66 to beat Koga from this team. Oh, I really wish we could actually learn the move Toxic, because that would make this so much easier as well. Anyway, we have nothing else left to do apart from head back to Silphco and go against the rival. So here we're going with the struggle strats again against his Pidgeot. We are nearly twice his level. And from here, Kakuna can only barely get the Pidgeot down to very low HP before falling. Fail 3 comes in with the tackles, and then we are going to switch into our Weedle, who is still using struggle. Annoyingly, I really should have recovered its PP just for this fight, because Poison Sting will be doing a lot more damage here. Level 65 for our Weedle. This is a crazy high level team for this point in the game. And that brings us into the Gyarados. Now, it's actually preferable to be using struggle against this Gyarados, because we want to deal as much damage out before anything goes down. Hydro Pump still does tons of damage, and we want to deal as much against this Alakazam as possible. This is the first time we've seen this Alakazam in all of the attempts. And I really wish that I'd actually totaled up the amount of attempts this whole run took, because well before this point in the game, we were already into the hundreds. We were already into the hundreds of attempts to get through these fights. Now, reason why I've left Magikarp right to last is because his Charizard will not use any Fire-type moves against this. Annoyingly though, we get it down to the smallest sliver of HP possible, and Rage gets the win. All that shows me though, this level, this strategy, this is possible. It all comes down to good RNG. Can our Kakuna get critical hits? Well, on this one it gets 3 in a row, which is unbelievable luck. Absolutely unbelievable luck to get 3 crits in a row there. It takes out half of Execute's HP before even getting taken down itself, and then Weedle comes in to clean up. Next up is the Gyarados, and we're going to try and just struggle our way through this, dealing as much damage as possible. Hopefully not seeing a Hydro Pump, and Weedle gets the win. It does tons of damage to Alakazam as well before getting taken down. We've got 3 Pokemon to work with here. Now we need to start dealing some string shots out to get that speed down. We do one with the Caterpie before moving into Metapod. We deal a bit of tackle damage out, and that string shot made the difference, because at half HP, this Charizard will not use... Oh god, he's going for the slashes. And then he locks himself into Rage, giving us the opportunity for the win. 12 HP, we managed to finish that fight with a mixture of struggle strats and a mixture of tackles. Oh, this run was exhausting. And after so many attempts and then finally introducing struggle, we found the optimum play for a lot of these Pokemon. Weedle and Kakuna are best kept with struggle. Our Kakuna itself there just took out 2 Pokemon with just struggle alone, and that brings us into the Rhyhorn. Now the Rhyhorn is always going to be a problem. We have no moves which can really deal much damage out against it, unless we decide to poison it with Poison Sting. With 2 Pokemon down against his 2, and we're matched evenly. Annoyingly, he does start using Tail Whip, but you know what? Because of the amount of badges we've got at this point, Badge Boost Glitch does get induced a bit here, and we do get a bit more attack to work with. Magikarp does get taken down though, and that brings us into our Caterpie. Now we've only got to get through his Rhyhorn, then deal with his Nidoqueen to get the win, and this is a first time attempt here. And we have managed to deal good damage out on the Nidoqueen. And can Caterpie do this? Nope, Poison Sting takes us down, but that brings us into our Weedle, who gets the final kill. So we do beat Giovanni first time. Now this you can see there how long this would take me just to get to this point. And Yeah, Sabrina is a nightmare. Now we are going to start speeding up a few of the runs because we have, wow, about 50 minutes into this video and we're only on to Gym 6. Now, this is what you can see here. This is our first attempt against Sabrina, the Psychic type gym leader. And we get all the way through to our Alakazam before Metapod decides it wants to be an absolute legend. Annoyingly though, if it didn't have Recover, we would have won that quite easily. Let's start this again, and we've now gone up to level 71. One Psychic will take out either Kakuna or Weedle. They are not the optimum Pokemon for this fight. Annoyingly, Magikarp is probably one of the most optimum Pokemon for this fight because it still went down. Kakuna, well, sorry, Metapod. Let's get these right. It is very hard to speak for an entire hour straight. I'll tell you that. Never try this sort of off the top of your head without a script. Anyway, Metapod starts taking names. It does get poisoned in the meantime by Venomoth and goes down, but that leaves us 2 Pokemon left just for the Alakazam. Now we've gone into with using Weedle and Struggle because it does so much damage, and 4 Struggles gets us the win. Sabrina, second time win. I'm decently happy with that. That then brings us to the 7th gym leader, which is not going to help us out very much because 4/5 of our team are weak to the fire gym. Kanto is really not set up to help bug types very much, is it? So we're going into this at level 78, and even at that Growlithe is a problem. Caterpie manages to take it down. We do need to get string shots off against most of his Pokemon, because otherwise he's going to lock us into Fire Spin, which is a bad thing. Struggle takes out the Ponyta, and we're into the Rapidash. Ideally do want to get some some string shots off, but it doesn't happen on this attempt. The Rapidash, using Fire Spin, it just tears through our team. Oh, you've got to laugh at stuff like this, don't you? That brings us through to the final Arcanine, who uses a big Fire Blast against our Weedle, leaving just Magikarp on its own. Now, the Arcanine will not use any Fire types moves, but it will use very powerful takedowns. Now, unless our Magikarp gets very lucky here, I don't think we've got this attempt. Unless this Arcanine goes for just Raws, which it seems to be doing and missing takedowns, but no. Final takedown right at the last minute gets Blaine the win. So let's try this again. We are very close to winning them, which means it is possible at this range. Caterpie, of course, is out first, and it can tank a couple of embers before getting taken down. We are burned going into the Ponyta, so we will get at least 1 string shot off to give us a hand. That brings us into Metapod, and Metapod is doing alright. That 1 string shot makes a difference, really, and we can attack first. We do get locked into Fire Spin though, and he keeps using his retroactive Super Potions, which is so annoying, meaning we lost a Pokemon completely to his second. Kakuna gets a clutch win with a critical hit Struggle, and ideally we just want to deal as much damage out to this Rapidash before being taken down. He uses 2 Super Potions on his Rapidash alone, and then we get locked into Fire Spin with our Weedle. We've got 2 Pokemon to work with on the Arcanine, but a Fire Blast takes it down, and again it is all onto our Magikarp. We don't want to be hit by takedowns, we don't want to be hit by anything really. We need to make sure this Arcanine either takes itself out with takedown recoil, or we can get our tackles in. It goes for a takedown and we tank it with 6 HP, getting ourselves the 7th badge. We're not even at level 100 yet, and we're going into Giovanni with this team. We are very, very high leveled, of course, but this Giovanni fight, man, this stopped me on the Weedle run. The way to beat him, you need to get this Rhyhorn poisoned as quick as possible. Once this Rhyhorn is poisoned, it's a matter of time before the poison takes over. But even then, with all of this happening, we still lose a lot of Pokemon at this early stage. Now we need to keep Weedle there for the very final Rhydon, so we need to make use of our other Pokemon. And my god, this Rhyhorn can take a lot of hits. Next up is Dugtrio, who is strangely one of the easiest members on this team. As long as we can get it one string shot off against it, Metapod can take it down quite comfortably. Now, the Nidoqueen and the Nidoking, as long as they don't use Poison Sting, we're alright. It's not the best matchup, but Tackles will do decent damage against them. We need to keep our Weedle alive for the very final Pokemon. So as soon as we get it poisoned and we can outspeed, we should be okay, unless he decides to use Stomp. Caterpie managed to get a clutch win against the Nidoqueen, but it gets taken down by the Nidoking, meaning Magikarp needs to come in and deal with thrash damage. After 3 thrashes, the Nidoking is now confused, but he doesn't seem to hit himself with confusion until the 3rd attempt, meaning we get into the final Rhydon, who takes down the Magikarp. We manage to get the poison off, and then we start reducing his speed, ensuring that both Horndrill and Fissure will not hit us whatsoever. And from here, we need to make sure that Stomp does not hit us. We are so close to beating him right now. Come on, Weedle, you can do this. Come on, Ruff. Swear word. Swear word, swear word, swear word. God damn it. We leveled up to level 81. We're getting very dangerously close to level 100 here, and we've still got 5 major fights to go here. 6 including the one to the west of Viridian. My god, this has been a difficult and long run. This brings us to the attempt we beat Giovanni on. Yes, we did manage to beat Giovanni, but it was long, it was hard, and there's definitely a pun in there somewhere. Metapod went completely bonkers here. It managed to get Dugtrio down after taking so much damage out, and we managed to get to his 3rd Pokemon before losing one of ours. That is a phenomenal effort by Metapod. That brings in the Caterpie, who does decent damage against the Nidoqueen. As long as we can get a couple of tackles out, it's going to be about 7 or 8 of them just to take down Nidoqueen, but we do get poisoned in the meantime. Nidoking is only going to really go for Poison Sting because it's super effective, but we can deal decent damage out over half its HP before Caterpie gets taken down. And if we can take out this Nidoking, then we've got 3 Pokemon to work with going into that Rhydon. Now we do switch a bit between Kakuna and Weedle. We need to keep at least one of them alive before going into that Rhydon, and out of the 2, Weedle's got the best shot. So we need to move into Magikarp next, who can then do decent damage out with Tackle. Magikarp here just needs to chip as much away as possible, but we will switch into Weedle first, get the poison on the first turn, which is absolutely clutch from this Weedle. Fail 4 has done phenomenal this run with the amount of clutch we've had to deal with. That brings us into our Magikarp, who now needs to deal with Stomps coming his way. We ideally do want to be hit by Tail Whip because then we can deal more damage out, but then we'll also take more damage from Stomp. If we get hit one more time here, we will lose. But thankfully, the poison takes control and we get the 8th badge. Just, I'm so happy this team can actually get to Giovanni. It's a crazy amount of time that was spent on this run. Crazy amount of time. This brings us to the rival to the west of Viridian, and from here, I went in this quite gung-ho. I thought, considering we beat Giovanni, we got decent strats to work with. We got the Pidgeot poisoned on the very first turn and taken out by Kakuna of all things. We managed to get through his first 2 Pokemon pretty comfortably. That means we can go into the Execute with Poison Sting, and he starts using Solar Beam, which you don't see all too often in this game. Now, the Weedle really does need to get a poison on that Gyarados to make this possible, and then we can move into Magikarp, and hopefully not take too much damage because we do need Magikarp for the Gyarados. And then I decided we'll keep him with Magikarp against the Alakazam, but that is the wrong play to have done here. We needed to keep Magikarp in for the final Charizard, if we even got a chance to see it. We take a loss there, and we level up a bit more. Level 91 this time. And this time, Kakuna does a lot better. Managed to take a lot of damage from the Rhyhorn. We don't get it poisoned until very late into this fight, if we even get it poisoned at all. We're on 18 HP, and finally the poison takes hold. Caterpie comes in and starts dealing decent damage out with Tackle. We are twice pretty much all of these levels, and it is still a very tough fight. Caterpie managed to deal out some good damage against Gyarados before Magikarp comes in and tackles. It take about 6 or 7 to take out the Gyarados, but we're on 12 HP going into the Alakazam. We really need to do well against this Alakazam, but it's just so powerful. This time we managed to get through to the Charizard, but one Flamethrower, even though we are twice the level of this Charizard, just wipes us out. That Magikarp needs to stay at last to go against that Charizard. There is no other way we can do it. And the next attempt, I went up to level 95. Now that bodes very poorly, considering we are still the Elite Four away from beating this game, and we only have 5 more levels to work with. We've used all the vitamins we could do. We have maxed out the IVs, or the EVs as they're called in Gen 1. We've maxed out everything that we can to get these Pokemon as powerful as they can. But at level 95, we are still struggling on the rival to the west of Viridian. It's draining when you get so far into a run like this and everything starts coming to a halt. We move into Metapod going against the Gyarados, and annoyingly we are just taking so much damage. Metapod goes down to 3 hits, and then it's all on Caterpie to try and take down this Gyarados. We need to make sure that he is not dealing out Hydro Pumps, and we get the win there. We get a string shot off on the Alakazam, and this will make the difference as well, because then our next Pokemon can come in and actually get some damage off before being taken down. We managed to tank a Psychic with 10 HP before Magikarp comes in and gets a critical hit, going into the Charizard at full HP. This was the first time we got to the Charizard with Magikarp at full HP, and this was the difference. Like, Magikarp was the only one who can stand up to this Charizard, because all he will do is use his normal type moves. Get the win at level 95, but it is an empty win in itself, because we only have 5 levels left to work with. Let's see how we do against the Elite Four. First up, of course, is Lorelei, and the first Pokemon that I knew was going to be the best Pokemon to use here was definitely Magikarp, because, for one, it can resist water-type moves, it can resist ice-type moves. Now, we have a big problem, and that big problem is Dewey. Dewey the Dugong is a really big problem, because most of our Pokemon are weak to Psychic-type moves, and Dugong knows Rest. It is very lucky that we managed to beat him there, but Rest just tore through a lot of our Pokemon, and he kept recovering his HP. When we come through the Cloister as well, we really rely on Magikarp a lot, but it goes down pretty quickly, and none of our Pokemon can really stand up to Ice types. We're not even 2 Pokemon down on this, and we've nearly lost our entire team at level 95. This might require the struggle strats. We managed to get all the way to the Slowbro, and we can take down the Slowbro because it has amnesia, meaning Kakuna can actually get through this Pokemon, and Slowbro will never be a problem in this fight. Next up though is the Jinx, and it does know Thrash and Ice Punch, meaning we are going to take an L here. So we'll try this at level 100. It's the first Elite Four member and we're already at level 100 here. But this does make a difference. We managed to take out the Dugong a lot quicker this time because of a lot more luck, and the Cloister goes down pretty quickly as well, after quite a lot of poisons and a lot of clamps. Next up, of course, we want a poison type Pokemon going into Slowbro, which means this is going to be a very easy fight for us. And we have a lot more Pokemon going into the Jinx. Now, if Kakuna can just at least deal out as much damage as it can before it goes down, it actually manages to beat out it managed to beat out Jinx and then poison Lapras before we move into Magikarp. We still haven't used Struggle Strats here, because if I use Struggle Strats once, I'm going to have to use them for the entirety of the Elite Four, and that's not going to be... We can't do that because the next Elite Four member after Bruno is Agatha. You know, we need to have Poison Stings for that fight, or it's not possible whatsoever. But you know what? Even Bruno is a tough challenge. It takes us ages to poison his Onix. He puts himself into rage, and we managed to string shot him loads and loads of times. so that rage does not build up and poison damage can just accumulate over time. This is a long drawn out fight purely for the Onyxes. If he did not have Onyx, you know what? This would be even easier. I mean, I understand he's got an Onyx in the anime, but he's a fighting type trainer. Why has he got an Onyx? It always kind of annoyed me, that. Anyway, we managed to beat the first Onyx going into our Caterpie, and it's Caterpie versus Hitmonchan. A punching Pokemon gets taken down by a bug. Next up is Hitmonlee. The kicking Pokemon does manage to get the win here, so we move into our defensive Pokemon. And from here, Jump Kick does not do much against bug types. Mega Kick will do decent damage, but our defenses are pretty good. And that brings us into the Onyx. Now we need to poison it to take it down, so we need to switch into our Weedle. It takes us ages again to get the poison off on the Onyx. And it finally hits. From here, we're going to String Shot while he's locked into Rage, meaning poison can deal as much damage out while he only does chip damage with Rage. It's a weird move to give an Onyx, really, especially with its really abysmal attack. But I guess if it's going to get hit quite a lot, then it will increase its attack quite a lot. So you know what, actually, yeah, it does make a lot of sense. What am I talking about? Anyway, that brings us into Metapod, and it is poisoned. We are tackling it down to try and take it out, but its attack is increasing ever so slightly every turn. That brings us into the Machamp. Now we finally took down that Onyx, and we are now going into Fail 1. Magikarp versus Machamp at level 100. Submission does tons of damage, but it's too little too late. Unless he uses a healing item here, we've got the win, and that's a first time win against Bruno. Proving he's still trash. Oh, now this brings us to the one trainer I was not looking forward to, and that is Agatha. Now, we only have 2 Pokemon here that can actually hit more than half their team, and we don't have much PP to work with. So, what we actually have to hope for is she switches into a Golbat quite early, and we can take at least that down. The Gengar, the Haunter, they can't be hit by normal type moves. We only have Poison Sting that can hit them. Struggle can't hit them, and we don't have Bide. So if both Weedle and Kakuna go down, which is very likely considering we don't have any recovery moves and they use Nightshade a lot, yeah, as soon as that happens, the attempt is just null. And it just didn't matter what we did. Like, we were completely blocked. All we could do against these were using String Shot when we were using Caterpie on Metapod. Magikarp can't do anything in this fight whatsoever apart from tackle the Golbat or the Arbok. But it's not possible. And that's how much damage we're doing at level 100 with Poison Sting. This is why there is a very, very small chance, like 1 in trillion chance that Weedle can actually complete the game on its own. That's when all the RNG lines up perfectly, but it is more likely that you will win the lottery than Weedle will actually win the Pokemon League. Technically it's possible, but it is 1 in trillions of chances. And if someone has actually done that on YouTube, my god, you guys have got patience, because I do not have the patience for this. This attempt, we don't even get past the very first Gengar. And of course, Dream Eater recovers all of its HP. We just got nothing to work with here. And it's from here. I actually decided to deem this attempt a failure. These 5 Pokemon cannot beat Pokemon Blue. And that's a sad fact. You've watched an hour-long video. So I'm going to try something different. There's technically one other Pokemon that I think it might be impossible to do the game with, and that's Ditto. So we're going to add ourselves a 6th Pokemon to the team now. I am 100% right now deeming this challenge a failure, but I came so far that I did not want to give up at this point and prove that this team cannot even get to the Hall of Fame. So we are adding a single Ditto into our party here, dubbed Fail 6. This Pokemon will not be allowed to go to level 100. What this Pokemon will do though is only allow itself to go around level 70. Now, this made the fight so much easier because we could transform into Gengar, we can Dream Eater to keep our HP up, and when we run low on PP, we could switch out and then transform again. Now, I will try and not use Ditto as much as possible in the next coming fights, but Ditto made the absolute difference here. And even, you know what, even with Ditto in the fight, it still was barely possible because that final Gengar did so much damage and she kept using super potions. We actually did take a loss. So it's still not 100% guaranteed that Ditto makes a difference in this fight, but it definitely helps much more. This time around, we managed to get the Gengar to sleep and we Dream Heater all of our HP back. Ditto, I've yet to do a solo run with just Ditto yet, but based off even this attempt here with using only the worst Pokemon, I'm not excited to do the Ditto run when it finally turns up. Really not excited for it. And I've not actually watched anybody else's Ditto solo runs on YouTube yet to know whether it's actually possible or not. But based off this run, I don't know if it's possible. I've not watched to see if J-Rose has done it, I've not watched to see if Scott's Forts has done it. Yeah, I haven't. They're the two major solo running channels that I've watched. Ditto does help us get the win against Agatha, and that brings us through to Lance. Now, we need to keep at least one poison type Pokemon alive for the very final Dragonite. If we can at least do that, we can win this fight, because these poison type Pokemon will not be hit by any of the Dragonairs or the Dragonites, purely for the fact they've got Psychic type moves on their roster, which means they will only use those Psychic type moves against us. The biggest threat on this team, of course, is going to be the Aerodactyl with its Hyper Beam, or the Gyarados with its Hyper Beam. As long as we can take them down and keep one of our poison type Pokemon into the mix, we can actually win this. Our Ditto does get the Hyper Beam on the Aerodactyl, and then we switch into Weedle, where it is completely our fight. I'm very sorry if you got to this point in the video hoping that just those 5 Pokemon could make it possible, but I just deem it not to be. And this challenge, I am 100% saying this challenge is a failure. I'm just trying to get to the end of the game right now, and Ditto is the most likely Pokemon that just can't complete the game itself. So let's see how we do against the rival, and you've watched a very long video here if you've got to this point. Big thank you if you have got to this point. But we're still not out of the water yet. The rival's Pidgeot is a nightmare with Sky Attack, and more than half of our team, 3/4 of our team, they are 2/3 of our team, sorry, are weak to both Psychic and Flying type moves, which are 2 of his first Pokemon. The Alakazam, of course, as well, has Recover, which is very annoying. We don't have any recovery moves. And you know what's actually interesting? What strategy do we actually do to get through this fight? Because yes, Ditto can transform into Alakazam. We don't get much PP to work with when we do that, so we have to switch out and make sure we get more moves to work with from another transform. We can recover to get our HP back, and you can see from this, Ditto is probably the best Pokemon to take down that Alakazam. Psybeam will be perfect against the Rhydon, and then we come into the Executor, which of course is going to be a big problem, so we set up a Reflect, and from here I deem, you know, it probably will be better for us to switch out soon, but we do nearly get taken down by the Executor's Barrage. We are so close, and yet so far from this end. We switch out and we go into our Weedle, where we can actually deal super effective damage out. If we can get it poisoned, we can keep using Poison Sting, we can get through this Executor. We need to keep Magikarp alive, but it's not alive right now. We need to figure out a different strategy to go around this fight. So I actually opted to try and transform into Executor, because we do get Hypnosis as a move. And if we got the final Charizard asleep, that was my thinking. But I then forgot that Gyarados is out next. And we run out of Hypnosis, and we got nowhere to recover our HP. Stomps will do bigger damage than Barrage, but we don't have much to work with. Barrage, we've got 4 to work with. And this Gyarados is still asleep. Can we take out the Gyarados? And no, he uses full restore. That's it. That's this attempt over. Yeah, that's this attempt over. Metapod is not going to be able to take out the Gyarados on its own. And yeah, 2 Hydro Pumps, take the L. Now I don't want to keep you guys any much longer on this video. You've been watching for a hell of a long time, so I'm now going to show you the final attempt, which actually worked. Granted, I did this fight, God, probably more than 20 times here. We did a lot of attempts against this team. This time, Pidgeot does take down one Pokemon with a big Sky attack, but the Poison takes it down and we go into the Alakazam with our Caterpie, which is the best play for us to have made. He's going to spam his Recover, he's going to spam Tackle. Psybeam will just do decent damage. We need to get String Shots off so we can actually outspeed it with our next Pokemon. Next we go into Ditto, where we can transform into the Alakazam and Psychic it down to get the special drops. From there, after 2 special drops, Psychic will do big damage and we can use Psybeam to deal out massive damage and get the win against the Alakazam. And not only does manage to tank it with a little bit of HP, and then we have to use our remaining Psychics to get that Alakazam down. The final Psychic does big damage on the Rhydon, but it's still not a one-shot. We recover up back our HP. After a couple of Fury... Wow, how many Fury attacks that actually want to hit. It's got terrible accuracy. We use pretty much all our recovers to get back up to full HP going into the Executor, because from here, we want to actually... What do we want to do? This was a big turning point in the fight. We need to use Reflect because it uses physical type moves. And there we switch back into our Weedle. We've managed to keep Magikarp alive up until this point, and we are actually winning on the amount of Pokemon that we are... He's got 2 Pokemon left, we got 4. So we need to get Gyarados. Poison we do first time, we miss the Hydro Pump. The second Hydro Pump does hit, but Poison is starting to deal a lot of damage. We take half HP and then we switch into our Ditto, who tanks it with 12 HP. Now he will not go for... Wow, we managed to get a Hyper Beam off before Rage took us down, but he's used Rage, which is perfect. Now you're looking at me here, and I am thinking, what do I do here? I can't poison him. He's going to keep using Rage, so what we're going to do? We're going to String Shot his speed into the dirt before starting to attack. Because as long as we can start dealing damage out before him, we've got more of a chance to win this. Rage keeps increasing in attack, but we need to deal at least half HP out before our Metapod gets taken down. He's got a sliver of HP left, at least a quarter left, and Rage is dealing big damage out, but that's enough. Magikarp, our very first Pokemon, gets the win. And I'm just sat there in disbelief when I beat Jugbles here. This was a long video. This is hands down the longest challenge I have ever done on this channel. And it is exhausting to do this in a month where you are trying to do a video every single day. But yeah, we did fail this challenge. I completely admit that. But this team of 6 can make it possible, even when Ditto is also not at level 100. It was at level 70 when we finished this. But yeah, the failures actually did manage to get a win today. It's an empty win because the challenge was a failure, but if just over 50 hours we completed sort of this challenge. Now, after such a long video and such a challenging video of that, I would really appreciate if you guys gave me a big subscribe from there. This was a very hard challenge and I feel like I deserve that from you guys. And with Christmas coming up, if you don't subscribe, well, it's your choice anyway at the end of the day, you legends. See you tomorrow for another challenge run. Take care.